Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Mental Health. So, I've taken a little bit of a break, as you may have noticed. I've just been focusing on starting my dissertation, and frankly, the third lockdown that we've been put into has been quite rough for me. The main one I'd say is I've noticed that I'm very heavily reliant on the gym, and I think it generally, if I don't feel too good, I'm used to just being able to have the gym as a resource I'm able to tap into, and I'll always feel so much better when I come out of the gym. But with the gyms being closed, I found myself delving into like not as good coping mechanisms, but I'm on a path to sort of healthier habits now, which is good. Um, but what I want to talk about today is identifying when medication is the answer, because I know this is a bit of a controversial topic. There's been a few people that I've spoke to that believe that if they didn't have their medication, then they wouldn't be able to function on day-to-day life, which is applicable to some illnesses. Things like schizophrenia, bipolar, they are mental health issues that are very reliant on medication to help them stabilize their mental state to function on a day-to-day basis. Things like ADHD as well. If an ADHD person doesn't have their medication, then they're not able to focus on information the same as somebody without ADHD. So those medications are very applicable, and anybody that has these mental health difficulties, by all means, let me know if there's anything that you found helps you without the use of medication. But as far as I know, there are specific mental health conditions where medication is the only sort of way to stabilize and sort of find a nice balance of normality. But in terms of depression or anxiety, I've heard various responses of people saying that they don't think that they're powerful enough to control their mental health without the use of medication. And when things get tough, they will go on higher doses of their medication. And I I've also heard from people that say that they don't need medication, and they fully believe that they are in complete control. It's their own mind at the end of the day. So with the right tools in place, then you will never need medication, as long as you know how to control your own mind. And things like cognitive behavior therapy are really good for that, because it's identifying what the problem is and knowing what your reaction is and working out that cycle. So you can get that through talking therapy. You could do it with yourself. One way of doing it could be through writing. So if you're able to identify your behaviors, your thought processes, and your reactions, identify if your reaction to a certain circumstance is good or if it's bad, then you can try and amend it. So in the past, I've found that if something bad happens with me, I will generally turn to alcohol. It's like, oh, I've had a bad day, so I'm going to have a drink. But that isn't a good cycle. So I replaced it with, I don't feel good, so I'm going to go to the gym. That's going to be an hour where I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just in my own head, exercising, and I'm getting loads of endorphins, so I feel good. Which helps, finding the right thing that you can do that breaks you out that cycle, and understanding your brain, your thought processes, your actions. That is basically all you need to do to be able to overcome your mental illness. However, if you have been diagnosed with clinical depression or clinical anxiety, that means you do have a condition that in some circumstances is out of your control. So when the waters are nice and gentle and everything's going good, your coping mechanisms that you've learned to overcome your mental illness work. But if there are circumstances that occur that disrupts your steady flow of life, that's when the clinical part of your mental condition comes into play. Because if you are clinically depressed, you have a chemical imbalance in your brain, and through the right behaviors and actions, you can stabilize it yourself. But if you're finding yourself with quite a lot of external stress and a lot of things out of your control that is disrupting your life, and it's quite common to, yes, if I go to the gym, I'll feel better, but I literally don't feel like I can right now. I just don't want to do anything. I just want to sit around, and I'll never feel better by doing that. But if I really just can't get myself to do what I know is best for me, that's the point where your mental condition is becoming out of your control, and that is where medication can help. I'm very much of the belief, and I've spoke to doctors about this, that medication for depression and anxiety is a short-term solution to a big problem. You aren't ever going to have depression or anxiety cured. So unfortunately, no matter how many antidepressants you take, you will never be cured of depression. It's something that you have for your whole life. However, you can take medication and it will help you with the chemical imbalance that you have in your brain, so that you find that you are able to cope with situations and circumstances. If the tide's coming in, the water's not still, and it's difficult, then the medication will help to stabilize you. Think of it as a life raft. It's a plaster for a wound, but it will never heal the wound. So I fully believe that it is a short-term solution to a bigger issue. So the person that might say, if I don't have my medication, then I won't be able to function because I've got depression. They are at the moment, I'm on antidepressants, and I find it really helps me. A big one, I think quite a lot of people that have mental health issues are struggling during the pandemic, and I'm very much of the belief that there's been a massive global mental health pandemic that has not been addressed during the COVID-19 pandemic. So now, if you do find that just being indoors, not being around people, not being able to go to the gym, not being able to go and see everyone at work, not being able to go into classes, not being able to just see people, not being able to go to the pub, not being able to go out for food, not being able to just have a movie night with your friends, they are big contributing factors to a decline in mental health, and they are out of your control. So there is no shame in admitting that at the moment you are struggling. And once you can admit this to yourself, that's where medication can help you along the way. So if you do feel this way, then contact your GP, and they can get you started on a low dose. So the ones I'm on at the moment, I'm on 20 milligram of fluoxetine, and I function exactly the same as I normally would. I just find that I'm able to keep myself much more level-headed. All my friends and my family just notice that I seem a lot more chill and more just content just in myself, my own company. And that's just true to how I am as a person anyway. I'm a very relaxed, chilled person. So it brings out my true colors by keeping me at a stable level. But without the medication at the moment, with such an unpredictable, bleak sort of day-to-day in lockdown, I'd find myself some days feeling really low, then other days feeling really, really good, and then some days feeling really low, and then it was just back and forth, and that was really not good for my mental health. What you need is consistent balance. So in a normal world, you might find that you are able to stabilize that level by a structured routine. So you might go to the gym in the morning, or you might go to the gym at night. You might go out and see your friends. You might have some clubs or something you go to, some hobbies that you do that you're not able to do at the moment. But you find that when you do those, it just really takes you out of your head. You're able to just feel mindful in the moment. It's something you really enjoy. It gives you a sense of satisfaction, accomplishment, purpose. And you don't have that anymore because you can't do it. So there's absolutely no shame in going for a short-term solution for a bigger issue. And once the pandemic does ease, that's when you can start to think about how you can cope without the use of medication for your clinical depression or anxiety. And as I say, talking therapies are really good for that. Working out hobbies that really make you feel good. If you don't have any hobbies, take one up, because it builds your character. I met my best friend through doing boxing, and if we didn't have that in common, we probably never would have ended up talking. But the main thing I find is, like, doing things like boxing. I'll go and I'll have anything in my head, and I might not be feeling very good. I might have not even wanted to go to boxing that day. But once you're there, you can't think because you're too exhausted. But while you are out of your own head, you kind of forget about what you were thinking about beforehand, because it's breaking you out of that state. You are getting filled with all sorts of feel-good endorphins, and you are stabilizing yourself, and you feel good. And you're doing something fun at the same time, and you're developing a skill. So if you don't have a hobby, I know now is not the best time, but once lockdown eases, I would definitely recommend thinking about what you really enjoyed when you were little. Like when you were at school, if there was anything that you really enjoyed. If you liked football when you were at school and then you fell off it, see if there's like a five-a-side team or something you can play with once things go back to normal. And that is when, once you feel that you are back to normal, back to the things that you enjoy, things that suit you, that are taken away from us at the moment, that's when medication doesn't need to be the answer, because you are able to come up with your own coping mechanisms, your own structure of day-to-day living that can provide a nice, healthy, fulfilling life without the use of medication. So there's one side of people that don't believe medication is the answer and they want to handle it themselves, and respect to them. But there's some people that feel like without their medication they wouldn't be able to function. I'm very much of the belief of the middle. So this person that feels like they can handle everything fine and it's okay, nothing's gonna go wrong. They have their structure, it's sorted. There will come times in life where your structure is disrupted. So a pandemic, all these things that you never, like 2 years ago, you wouldn't have thought that all gyms would be closed down, all pubs would be closed down, you wouldn't be able to hang out and have a movie night or play Monopoly with your friends. And you never know, something bad might happen in real life that does haunt you, traumatize you, linger in your mind, stop you from sleeping. That is where the water is no longer still. It starts to get a bit chaotic. It starts to move around. The tide's coming in. It's hard to stay stable and keep your head above water. If you still are of the mindset, medication is not the answer for me, try things to stabilize yourself and make yourself feel good. Think about different approaches you can take. Writing down how you're feeling, reflecting with yourself, checking in with yourself, meditating. There won't be any pandemic or anything that will come between your ability to sit down, communicate with yourself, because you are the person that you're going to spend the most time with in your life, and the quality of your communication is the outcome of your life, and the person you speak to the most is yourself. And you are trying your best. However, if you really feel like, despite all these things that you're trying to do, you just wake up every day, it takes you about an hour to get out of bed, you find yourself feeling up, down all the time, just think about some medication is a short-term solution for a big issue. and there is no shame in getting a life raft every now and then to keep your head above water. You don't need to be on it for your whole life. You could be on it for a 6-month stint. You could find that you're on it for the rest of the pandemic, and then once things go back to normal, you start to feel really happy. You've got everything back. You have a newfound appreciation for all the things that you missed while you're in lockdown, and you feel back to normal. Then you can come off your medication and be the person that has their coping mechanisms, their structure. They don't need medication. That's fine. But there's no shame in reaching out for a bit of help when times are difficult and things are out of your control. You just need to be honest with yourself and think about what's best for you, rather than ideologies or being stubborn about your beliefs. If you are struggling, and no matter what you do, you can't seem to knock it on the head, then that is what medication exists for. And that's why clinical depression is a diagnosed disability or illness, because it's a chemical imbalance in your brain, and sometimes you just can't be in control of that. And on the other spectrum, there is the people that really believe that if they weren't on their medication, then they wouldn't be able to function. And right now, I trust you know yourself better than I do, and that's true. But you might want to start reflecting on what you do that helps. And, if you didn't have your medication, is there anything that you could do that could help you with your the troubles that you face on a day-to-day basis, defeat the demons that are inside your head? So what do you like about yourself? What do you do? How often do you spend time with personal development for yourself? Checking in with yourself, meditating, doing things that you're proud of, doing things that you enjoy. You might find that you're working, coming home, watching telly, drinking a bottle of wine, maybe not, just going to sleep, and that is a cycle. Then maybe you would look at trying to amend your schedule in a way that will provide more day-to-day fulfillment and satisfaction and purpose. And when you go to bed at the end of the day, you've got all these different things that you're really happy about. So despite having a very boring time at the moment, I wrote that I wanted to wake up before 12, which I managed to do, meditate, clean the kitchen, complete and submit my topic proposal for my dissertation, do a bit of World of Warcraft, which I've not actually done yet, do an entry for a fitness subscription-based business that I'm working on at the moment, and do this video. So I get a sense of satisfaction by ticking that, and I also feel really good that I've done a variety of things rather than just committed my whole day for something. I've got loads of different things that I have to show for my day, and despite the fact that I'm spending most of my day in a student bedroom, there's still a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment at the end of the day. But if I didn't have that, I would find myself just being quite mean to myself, talking nasty to myself, and feeling guilty that I hadn't really done anything. So it's about checking in with yourself and making sure that you are doing the things on a day-to-day basis that would make you happy, would make you proud. If you checked in with yourself 5 years ago and said, what would I want to be like 5 years from now? What would I want to be doing? Where would I want to be? And where do you want to be 5 years from where you are right now? If you are finding that you aren't doing the things that you wish you'd done, maybe that could be something that's eating away at you and something that's hindering your ability to find yourself feeling confident and strong enough and stable enough to come off your medication. But then there is the argument of there could be very pressing circumstances at the moment out of your control, and you need your medication to stabilize you for that, which is absolutely fine. But remember that medication is a short-term solution for a big issue. You can be on medication for your whole life, but it is always worth, when the waters are stable, trying to focus on ways and tools that you can have to fight your own battles yourself without the assistance of medication. Because if you were to crash on a desert island and didn't have your medication anymore, How would you face your demons? The best way to win a battle is through a variety of versatile approaches and knowing different strategies in case you need to change your game plan. So you could work out things that you could do without medication and things that you do when you are on medication. And the reason that medication exists is because clinical depression is a lifelong illness, disability, condition, and it's not curable. And there will come times where things are good, you don't need your medication, you've got your structure, things are going good. But then there will come times where you just need that helping hand. And there is no shame whatsoever in taking the helping hand. If you don't, in a time that you really need it, how are you going to pull yourself out that rut? If you can do that and you've got the mental stability and strength, hats off to you. But if you really feel like you can't do that, there is just contact your GP and just cover the wound with plaster for a little bit, and you can fully intend to take that plaster off, but make sure you do it at a time where you have the plans in place of how you're going to stabilize yourself on a day-to-day basis and defeat your demons and your clinical depression. That was a nice little ramble. I hope this is helpful. If you don't think it's helpful, let me know. I just want to get people talking about mental health, and that's the purpose of this channel. Let's talk mental health. So if you want to share your story, if you want to ask me any questions, if you want to put forward any ideas for future videos, I am going to start doing these again. So please feel free. I want to get this as a nice little community where we're all coming together, giving ideas, sharing thoughts and experiences, and supporting each other, especially at the moment during a pandemic when so many people are indoors, away from everyone, at their computers, on their phones. There's no better time to come together online and talk about mental health and how we can defeat it, because you are strong enough to do that. You just need to believe in yourself. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.